Hello everybody. I have a pretty stupid video today about a topic that I've been pretty excited about. What is this concerning? GINA is a application that many of us have been using for years now to keep track of various events at the log file, whether it be buffs or raid events or whatever. I've been using it pretty extensively, and another application is EverquestLogParser, developed by Kazant, who is a player on Zegany that is pretty noteworthy for developing the application. I think largely because GAMParse became not usable after a while as it was stopped being developed and it no longer became functional. I've used EverQuest Log Parser and GINA for that matter for as long as I know they've been available, and I like both of them. I use GINA overlay timers to keep track of my dots, probably more than most people do, but I think a lot of that is because I used to play on live where you're only getting new spells, once a year instead of every 2 or 3 months. And I also dabble with playing on other servers such as Vanicky, and even on occasion I'll play on test with a much higher level character just to have fun. And I always had trouble with at that stage of the game getting familiar with just memorizing how long the dots were lasting. Whereas if you're only playing one necromancer on a live server, that's pretty easy to do. You just develop that naturally. So the main timer that I used for dots was implemented by Silent, spelled Silent, on the Everquest forums. And basically, it's a countdown timer that is triggered only when I want it to be triggered by hitting a hotkey for the inspect buffs mine command, which is what I just pressed. You'll notice that it outputs that you sense the spell name by me on that target with the duration of time. Now the trigger text takes that information and it adds countdown timers showing the name of the spell, the target, and the duration of the spell that is on it. You'll notice that these buffs last longer than an hour, but Kazan's implementation only shows minutes and seconds, which I think is perfect. Nobody actually needs a timer bar to display how many hours are left, because that would just be silly. Anyways, normally what this will do is that if you're casting dots on a mob, let's say you have 10, 12, or however many dots you're using, ideally you want to have your dot spells never fade off the mob. And it's just a way of tracking if you are not sure what dot spells have worn off, on which ones you should apply first, and which ones are still in the mob and you don't have to worry about for a while. So it's not a timer bar that will always be displayed, because that would just be absurd. Not to mention there are many times when you don't care because the mob's going to die before the dot spell is going to wear off anyways. So what was recently implemented by Kazant and Everquest Log Parser that allows me to start to migrate out of GINA into solely Everquest Log Parser is the implementation of what he calls a progress timer, which is a timer that starts counting up from when the text in the log is found, which might not sound very useful, but when you want to be able to tell only when a buff has worn off a player, or only when a dot spell has worn off a mob that you need to refresh right away, it's actually a really nice function for that, and it will always display the order of those based upon the smallest duration based upon how I have it set in the same overlay. So obviously these are buffs, and I'm talking about a dot timer. This is just because on command I can end the timer early by clicking off the buff on my mercenary. So to kind of just talk about what I'm showing here, I'm going to click off resist cold, which you'll notice is the debuff in the middle, and this timer bar will go away because the spell has worn off, and it will start a new timer bar that starts with a 0 duration and is at the very top of the overlay. So it's a really quick way to identify to me that I need to refresh that dot as soon as possible. at a higher priority than any of the other dots that I do have running. And that's exactly what it did. So when I cast that new dot, you could set the timer and early text for this progress timer to disappear only when that mob is actually taking damage from your effect, which obviously dot spells take damage every 6 seconds. So if you use it that way after you have cast the spell, sometimes it will not fade away instantly. Personally, I think it's kind of confusing because the way my mind works, if I've cast the spell and if it has not been resisted, or if I haven't otherwise failed the spell, which I use other alerts for, mostly in-game audio alert triggers to alert me of those points, I just want that progress timer to go away as soon as possible so I can stop stressing about it. So right when I press the hotkey to cast that spell again, it will instantly go away in the timer, as you just saw there. The end early text that I will be showing in a moment also has the ability to detect if the mob has died, if I have zoned, if I have died, or if I have manually decided to end the timer. There are some events, for example, where the mob will respawn or clear all detrimental effects off of it. And when, rather than searching the log file for every instance of that in the game, you could just set out another hotkey to manually kill your timers whenever you need to. And personally, I have one set to the one I just hit will clear only my countdown timers, and there's another syntax that would only clear the progress timers. I'll show you what I mean. That is a progress timer, meaning counting up from when the spell wore off, and I hit the same hotkey again, and it goes away, just like it would if the mob died or if I recast it. So that functionality, again, not everyone will need to use it, and it's pretty specific in terms of how it works for me, but Kazant has been really great about listening to feedback from his users on features that they want to see implemented into EverQuest EQLogParser. There's a lot of functions with those requests that he implemented based upon that our support or would be great to see. Let me rephrase that. Would be nice because they add functionality to other use cases. I won't go into examples because it's not the point of this video. The point of the video is mostly to talk about how EverQuest EQLogParser is now, in my opinion, able to completely replace GINA. There may be other examples of things that cannot be done in EverQuest EQLogParser that can be done in GINA. Personally, I'm not aware of any of them, and I've used GINA pretty extensively for the last few years, so I'm skeptical of that. I will mention that there's another application called NAG that I'm sure many of you are familiar with that has been getting more popular lately. I think it's been getting more popular because, number one, it's fairly well designed, and it's been getting shared by the community. It has a easier learning curve than GINA does because you don't have to learn the format of the variables in the same way that GINA users do. But it's just not for me. I did try it a while back, and I've seen some other development updates that look great, but I just prefer GINA because it's just what I know so well. And I especially appreciate how Kazant has taken basic functionality of the variables from GINA, but has added functionality into his application in a way that makes better sense for a lot of people. So I have EverQuest EQLogParser open now, and currently I only have 2 timers set and 2 overlays. As I mentioned, I'm in progress of migrating over to it, but this is the most important timer. Without this timer support, I would have to still eventually, or I would still have to use EverQuest EQLogParser and GINA at the same time, which now that the progress timer was added, I can use just EverQuest EQLogParser. I will talk really quickly about the actual format of the text itself, the patterns. this pattern might look really complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. The question mark exclamation point is an exclusion, meaning that anything that are in this list causes that text in the log file to be ignored. So these are effects that are not dots, obviously, that if the log file, or if when I hit that button, if it sees it in the log file, it will completely ignore those effects and will not put a timer bar into them for me, because I don't want them in that timer bar. The actual name of the trigger that is displayed in the overlay is S1 forward, then S2, S1 being the name of the spell, S2 being the name of the enemy. And I have the timer style as countdown, because it's counting down from when the text was found in the log. The end early text section, you want to make sure for both of these sections you have use regex check or secretive style of text than just clear dot timers or end all timers. Either way, I'm sure you can figure that out. The count up timer has similar functionality. It ignores different buffs or different debuffs, different spells, I should say, from wearing off than the countdown timer does, just because of the actual functionality of it. And it is a progress timer. And one thing I really like about Everquest log parser is that in the application, he does a much better job of actually explaining what a certain field is. Because when you click on a field, it describes what that function is meaning in this section of the app. You don't even have to go into a help menu or onto a website or a forum post or anything like that. This is a fantastic implementation, and it's really friendly to the users of the application. And as I've been tracking upgrades to Everquest log parser for quite a while now, this implementation is really nice when new features are added, and I think it's amazing that he has done this. It's really nice for the end user. The overlay setting, you're able to set this to be very similar to GINA, if not exactly the same, for your existing overlays, with a lot of great functionality to change the font type, the font size, the font color, the color of the bar, the transparency of everything, and there's a luminance selector right here as well that I actually missed when I first saw it. And you can add colors by the hex code, so you can actually get it to be looking almost exactly like your GINA overlay if you want to, which is what I'll probably personally do. But that is about all I have, and I hope you guys like it. And maybe in the future, people that don't like NAG, that still like GINA, will agree with me in that they can migrate over to using just Everquest log parser for all of their in-game alerts. Anyways, that's about all I have for you, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks again.
Hey guys, this is Brian again. I have some secret footage to share with you. Our favorite necromancer shared that it is relatively easy to set up your overlays in Everquest log parser the same way as you have them in GINA. I actually have footage of him doing this exact thing. I figured you might want to see what this looked like. I hope you enjoy it.